Well, good evening, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. I'm your host here tonight on the Cosmic Connections, and it's the evening of February 26th. I want to welcome everybody here to the program tonight. It's been quite an interesting week for the last week, and so I know everything seems to be coming across good on Facebook. And Blanca, why don't you go ahead and just say hi to everybody? It's always a welcome to have you here too. So how are you doing this fine evening?
Well, thank you, Dave. We're doing pretty good, and I agree. Lots of things happening, interesting, and I'm glad people are joining us for a good conversation. Hopefully everything is, volumes are okay, and we're coming through nice and clear. I can hear you pretty good, so I'm sure the people on Blog Talk can hear you too.
Yes, they can. They said that it's coming across just fine. So, folks, let me remind you on Facebook that sometimes, every once in a while, the program might freeze. Normally when that happens, though, you can still hear the sound, but the video freezes, but it still continues to record. So Facebook is always recording. So the program is still, at the end of the day, it's still recording, and it usually takes me a day or two afterwards, and then I edit it and upload it to YouTube. So but the recording is always there. But also then it's, the sound is always there on Blog Talk Radio. So yes, so here we are, February 26th. It's been an interesting week. I'm not even going to talk about, the presidential debates. That's another whole issue that I won't even get into. But the coronavirus issue that is popping up, and, President Trump had his, press release on it tonight. And Blanca, you had actually listened to that. Why don't you share some of your comments on what you heard there tonight on the president's press conference on that?
Right, and for those folks who got to hear it, it was at 6:30. And those who didn't, I'm sure they'll be able to go back and listen to it. But basically, what the message was, and consistent, it was Trump, and then Mike Pence, he's actually put in charge of the team that's working on this. He also had a doctor from the CDC, a couple of doctors really there to speak as well. But Trump's message was that they were rather proactive from the start. Of course, he banned flights in from China pretty early on, and he mentioned that he got criticized for it, but it turned out to be a good idea. And they're thinking that they've gotten ahead of this, that they're pretty much putting preparations in place just in case things get a little more serious. Right now, they're optimistic that they're on top of it. And, of course, Congress gave them a lot of money. I think the Trump administration was asking for, I think, under $2 billion or just about $2 billion, and Congress wanted to give them more like $8 billion.
Yeah.
Of course. And Trump is saying, we'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. And so of course, Dave, as you had mentioned, prevention and preparation was also the message. And basically, like when you come up against flu season, you prepare for it.
Yeah.
And so there, wash your hands, and if you feel that you're sick, don't go out and spread it, or if you feel that someone is infected, don't necessarily hang around with him. Those kind of things, those common sense things. And the doctors and the CDC were also saying they felt that the possibility that there would be more cases in the United States was pretty likely, but that they were ready for it. Right now, no one is saying it's a pandemic, but they're not saying that it's not possible either. President Trump was quick to say it's not inevitable. Like I think one CDC person said, it's inevitable that there will be a pandemic. He was arguing that that's not the case, but he's not saying that that's not possible either. So they're pretty open about that. There's really not that much certainty, and I think if there's anything a little bit that may put people on edge is the uncertainty, because right now they're so ahead of it, frankly, is what I got, that they're learning about it. And what they do know so far is that it has some similarities to the regular flu. It's a respiratory ailment, and it's similar to SARS, that it popped up. Now, it spreads more, is what they're seeing. It spreads a little easier than SARS, but the mortality rate is lower. So right now they're at about 2% mortality rate, which is pretty low.
Yeah.
And 99% of the cases are still in China. So those are the main takeaways that I got from it. Basically saying they're not panicking right now. They don't think panic is really necessary, but they are being prepared, and they are wanting people to also be prepared. It's a flu-like virus, and so when there's a big flu going on, you take preparation. And Dave, you had some thoughts that some of the things that you were doing to prepare.
Yes, I did. Now, most of the program tonight is going to be talking about what is called the economic repercussions on this, and some of the, how some of this plays out on that. On some other practical stuff, I'm just going to show you what my thoughts are. I mean, already in Hong Kong, they have closed down all of the schools. All the schools in Hong Kong have closed down. But what they're doing, they're doing homeschooling. They're still conducting school, but they're doing it on the internet or from their homes. So the teacher will basically get the whole class. They can have a laptop computer at their home and get them on the internet. So school is still going on, but they're basically moving into their homes. And also, a lot of the businesses in Hong Kong are having their employees go home and work from home as well. If this does spread, then that is a possibility of what could happen to us here. Now, I'm just going to share you what is some of my practical thoughts. Folks, I would highly, highly recommend you go out and get some face masks, because if this does start to spread, there is the possibility that they're not going to let us get out and move around and be a part of the public if you don't have some of those face masks on. And the fact is, they're running out. When this came up, I think maybe about a week ago or so, I went into the local Walgreens, and this was only the first, second, or third day after it had come out. They were already sold out. Walgreens one. I had to go over to another store, and they pulled them off the shelves, and then they ended up putting them behind the pharmacy counter, so you had to ask for them. But it shows you there's a real shortage of some of these that are going on, and it may be that as a precautionary measure, because those face masks don't cost very much. But that's just a thought. You may want to go out and you want to take care of that too. So, but those are some of the practical things. I think also the reports that they're not telling you in the mainstream news, but it's coming out in other sources. This is a patented virus. It was this virus was patented, and it's probably from our side of what we call the cabal perspective, it was probably something that was planted out there to create this type of a chaos, to create this type of a fear issue. It's all mostly based on fear right now. There's far more fear in this than there is anything else. And another report that I read is what most people don't know is that 80,000 people a year die from the flu, just normal flus. And so as of now, this isn't any huge issue other than it's a normal flu issue, but it does seem to be spreading more rapidly than some of the others. Okay, Blanca, I think I've got some real background noise that you've got coming through or something. Are you there? Hello, are you there, Blanca?
I am. I
Okay.
can hear you now. What? Somehow you blocked out.
There was some interference background noise that was going on there. So, okay. But that's the scoop. So,
Okay.
anything else that you want to share before I get into the main part of the program tonight?
Well, I know a lot of your listeners probably know about some of the natural ways to boost their immune system, because really the immune system is what's going to be dealing with it.
Yes.
Pretty much like the flu.
Yeah.
And so some of the things that we like a formula called Wellness Formula. It's made by Source Naturals. And so we always have it handy. As soon as we start feeling a little bit of a bug, we start popping the Wellness, and that really helps. Some people really get good results with colloidal silver. And then good for detoxing are Epsom salt and baking soda baths. So
Yes.
anything people can do to boost their immune system is already a really good defense as well.
The people who probably are basically having the greatest impact from it are those who probably already have a low immune system. And one of the very, very simple things that really helps in an immunity on this is just go take about a quarter to a third of a teaspoon of baking soda in water each day. That's all you got to do. Just drink a bunch of baking soda. Mix it up in water and drink it. Also, I'm getting some notes here coming in on Facebook that says P73 organo oil will help. I also had another lady said that their stores are already out of masks. You know, folks, here's a place where you can get masks if your local stores are out. Order it off of Amazon.com, okay? I mean, because they got plenty of them. Amazon has plenty of them. And so it may sometimes take about a week to get there, but, you know, so, yeah. Somebody here on Facebook just said, I saw a picture of one with a guy with a fresh tampon strapped around his face.
Yeah.
That's a new one. So,
No.
yes.
That's a no.
It's probably because he didn't have anything else. He probably couldn't get a mask because, you know, they're selling out. Who knows what? Oh, that's so funny. I won't say anything more about that, okay? So, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so anything else you want to share with us, Blanca, before we head into the program?
But no, I think that's good. Just common sense preparation for the flu, and just keep your eyes and ears open as we get updated on what's going on. And if you don't want to be programmed and played like a chump, do not go into fear and panic.
That's right. Yeah, just don't go into fear and panic, and just, you know, stay above the fray on this stuff and just do your common sense preparation for yourself. I think this is mostly a fear-based issue, and it's trying to, you know, cabal people, that's how they know they have their power and control. They create fear issues. When we stay in fear, we kind of surrender to authority power is what we do, and that's exactly what they love to do. So, but enough of that. So, now I want to talk about on tonight's program basically about the economic situation and what's happening, and the coronavirus is kind of playing into this. On Saturday, I sent out a special newsletter about what some of the developments that I saw that we might end up running into, basically called the start of the economic downturn. Now, let me just really quickly read the special newsletter that I sent out on Saturday. It says, in recent radio programs and workshops, I've mentioned that many of the economists and advisors have been stating a dramatic economic downturn was on its way. Many have said it was past due, and there have been a few things that have delayed its occurrence. It says, I wanted to wait until there was stronger assurance before I discussed it in a newsletter. Well, that time has arrived. I read articles extensively, have been attuned to the economic news for decades. Experts have always said there's two primary indicators to watch for an economic downturn. Number one is what is called the Dry Baltic Index, and number two is the debt to GDP ratio. Now, the Dry Baltic Index is the indicator for the dollar value and the volume shipping of the containers that are moving overseas from Europe and Asia into the United States, because, you know, we get these massive shipping containers. They are an excellent indicator of what's going on in our economy because it means that the retail stores are ordering these things. We're a consumer retail-based economy, and when the index drops, it means the retailers have cut back on their inventory purchases, assuming a turn down in purchases. The Dry Baltic Index is now lower than it was in 2008 when the economic crash started. And then I read a new one report today said the Dry Baltic Index is probably at the lowest it's been in decades. A low, folks. That is a huge, huge indicator that we've got a huge economic downturn on the way. Now, history also displays the impact of the debt to GDP ratio on the economy going back over 100 years. Every economic downturn or crash is predicated or it's preceded by a high debt to GPO ratio. This debt to GPO ratio is now higher than it has been ever in the history of the United States. After the 2008 economic crash, interest rates were dropped to 2 to 4% for businesses and consumers, the lowest in decades, and that spurred an avalanche in borrowing, driving up the amount of outstanding debt. Reports say that the economy is doing great, yes, in terms of jobs, unemployment, and the stock market, but this is a strong economy that's not based on normal economic growth. It is driven by the high amount of debt. An example is that businesses can go out and they can borrow $40 to $50 million. That's only going to cost them 3% interest per year. And they take that money and then they buy back their own company's stock, and the stock goes up 20 to 30%. And this has been happening by the hundreds of billions of dollars, creating a hyperinflated stock market bubble that's about to pop. The stock market being high, I should say, before the last couple of days, it was not a normal market. It was a falsely inflated bubble. All of these indicators are signs that an impending crash when the consumer spending slows down and banks start to tighten on lending. Both have been happening for months. This starts the snowball effect of the job layoffs, foreclosures, and loans going bad. That's what happened in 2008. It followed with the Dow Jones index dropping 53% in 6 months. Millions and millions of people lost 30 to 40% of their retirement accounts, and scores of millions lost their homes to foreclosures. We are right on the verge of this happening again, and the snowball appears to be right around the corner. Why? The downturn has already happening. China is the largest producer of consumer goods in the world, and they had already cut back close to 30% in market product production and was heading for their own economic collapse, and then boom, the coronavirus comes. Factory production has come to a standstill. Factories are shutting down all over China, and experts are now saying this is going to accelerate the global economic crisis. What does this mean for us? It says, I just read a long article giving details on how the stock market will crash again, real estate market will crash, and jobs will fall off. Most people have their discretionary income invested in market and real estate. And when the downturn starts, many of the fund managers move the money to safer investment items, mostly gold and silver. And this time, they're adding solid cryptocurrencies to the list. The article mentioned how good economic experts see the value of putting funds into cryptos versus traditional fiat-based currencies, such as the US dollar. They expect the crypto market to explode when the crash is underway. And folks, that's why Meta 1 is so solid, because it's an asset-backed currency, okay? So that was what I wrote on Saturday. And then Monday, boom, the market dropped over 1,000 points. The Dow Industrial Average dropped over 1,000 points on Monday. There's only been 3 times in the history of the Dow Jones Industrial that has dropped more than 1,000 points on one day, and Monday was one of those 3 days. Now let me read the follow-up message that I sent out. On Saturday, I gave a message about the upcoming economic market collapse and want to give a short follow-up. I mentioned it's likely that the stock market will start to drop, and well, today it did dramatically. The Dow Jones average dropped over 1,000 points today, one of its largest single-day drops in history. The drop was based on the coronavirus in China. About 50% of the factories have shut down in China, and the world's largest manufacturing country. This is going to create a lack of supply and likely slim to empty shelves in many of our leading retail stores. Now here's my important message. This is what I wrote. This is based on reports and articles I've been reading. Much of our processed food supplies come from China. Stores normally only keep a 3 to 4 day supply on their shelves. With much production being shut down for an unknown amount of time, many experts are projecting a food shortage in our supermarkets. Yes, you heard that, a projected food shortage in our supermarkets. So folks, I was advising folks to go out and make sure that you have about a 3 to 4 week supply of food. Now, mainstream media is not talking about that because they know if they start talking about it now, it'd create a massive rush in the stores and create a fear factor when it's not there. The shortage comes, there's always a delay, because remember, the stores have a 3 to 4 day supply on the shelves. They still have food in their warehouses that they can bring in, and then there are still containers that are already on their way. So it could be that they still have a supply for another week, 2, 3 weeks before we start seeing the shortage. But just be prepared to know that this has a high probability. It's not about what's happening in the United States, it's what's happening in China. Because China is basically, they've pretty much have shut down their production. And we are so dependent upon them for so much of what we receive here in our country. I read a report this morning that Procter & Gamble says it has about 17,000 different items that it basically puts out, and over 60% of their basic item supplies comes out of China. And Procter & Gamble is expecting a huge drop in availability of the product that they normally produce. So everybody needs to make a decision for themselves about what is important food. I'm not here to get into eating processed foods versus your natural foods and stuff like that. I know different people look at it in different ways, but the issue is just make sure you got something, folks. Now, here's what's different. You can buy foods that are your refrigerated foods and you'll be just fine, because, see, this is not going to be like a disaster where your electricity goes out as well. In September, shortly after I moved here to Florida, that's when Hurricane Dorian was out there in the Atlantic. And it ended up stalling right over, the Bahamas. But before it stalled, it was projected that it was coming right here to hit the coast about 12 miles north of where I live. And the second day of the hurricane, when it reached a Category 5 coming on its way in, I went into the store locally. I thought, I guess I better get some water and food and stuff like that. And within the second day, all of the shelves were empty of water. It was gone. You couldn't go into a store and get bottled water because the people had so quickly gone in because of the hurricane coming in. Now, imagine what happens when people start talking about this type of an issue. So I wanted to talk about this tonight. And see, on the bigger picture, when we look at what is the upcoming economic shift that I've talked about, I think this is a potential precursor for that, because we have always heard from so many sources, and then Robert Dunlap and I have talked about this, is if we're going to have a new global economic system that's basically going to, basically shove out the cabal-based corrupt economic system, it usually means the economy has to go through a form of a collapse, because that gives the impetus to bring in a new system when the old system is collapsing and going out. So in some ways, this could be the blessing in disguise. This could be the thing that's going to give us the opportunity to bring in our new economic system. And what I am hearing and what I've been told, again from my sources, is that the currency exchange that's involving scores and scores of trillions of dollars is basically that money will start coming in as the old system is fading out. And so there's a very strong indicator we could start seeing some of those early monies of the currency exchange coming through fairly quickly. Now, over the weekend, I got updates from 5 different sources who are involved in the currency exchange. Every one of them said money is moving to the very, very tier 1 and tier 2 paymasters. So it is moving. Now, one of them did say, yes, the coronavirus issue did put a shortcut to them, because they had to basically, their main buyers were out of China, and they had to go and finish up the contracts in both the Europe and the United States, and they couldn't even get out of the country. They couldn't even leave the country. So that did put that type of a delay on that one. So, but all of this is looking like it's ready to start moving on that. So I think that probability for us on this program that Meta One is ready to go in the next couple of weeks. I did send out the newsletter that Meta One. In the newsletter, they said that it was a March 1st date. That was, the price was going up on March 1st. So the 29th, i.e. Saturday, normally was going to be the last day you could buy the coins at $44.44. And I said, hey, wait a minute. Remember, we said we would give everybody a 2-week notice. So they said, oh, yes, that's right. So March 7th, for everybody on my newsletter list, that's the last, I should say the 6th is going to be the last day you're going to be able to purchase Meta One coins at $44.44. And Robert, he cannot, because he's under an NDA, he cannot disclose the amount. But the audit will be done very, very soon. And let's just say the coin is going to be in the thousands of dollars. So you're going to be able to purchase this coin at 44, and it's going to be in the thousands of dollars. that's very positive. Folks, that's some of the most positive news of what I can give to you here. So, Blanca, with that, why don't you go ahead and come on in and just share some of your thoughts, and then we can get into a discussion on this, and then what we could do is just go in and start, taking on some of the questions that the people have.
Right, because I think people will have questions or want to make sure they're understanding what you're saying. So, so what I'm getting, your observation, some of the research you've done, is that there's definitely an impact on the economy, and the coronavirus is one of the elements going into this, especially because so much was dependent on China. It's the second biggest economy in the world, and a lot of the supply chains are linked to China. And then, of course, they're a big consumer body themselves. So to not think that there's not going to be an impact in the economy is not realistic. Yeah. But we don't know to what extent. But it wasn't like that's the only thing impacting the economy. There's other things. So based on that, what I'm hearing you say is that the fact that the economy has these drivers that are not for the positive may kind of pave the way for another system to come in. And because, now this is a message you've been saying for a while, that in order for a new system to be activated, it had to be shown that the old one needed to be replaced, something like that. Is that kind of what you're trying to associate?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
okay.
There's something else.
Yeah, that sounds right.
There was something else I forgot to mention, is that the Dow Jones dropped 1,000 points on Monday, and it turned right around on Tuesday, dropped another 900 points. Point-wise, that is the single largest back-to-back day drop in the 124-year history of the Dow Industrial Average. It's not the largest percentage back-to-back days, but it is the largest point for it to go down 1,900 points in 2 days. And it didn't recover today because it was still down about another 120 points today. So it shows you that there's some deep concern out there of what's going on. And so, you may want to take a look at that, and you need to do whatever you need to do for yourself, but it looks like we are very probably on the front edge of this economic downturn that has been talked about for some time. And the impact that that's going to have on us, but also for us involved, with the currency exchange and the Meta One, those are the blessings in disguise, because it gives us the ability to be able to come in and to move forward with that stuff. So. Okay. All right. So go ahead. Anything else you want to share, Blanca?
Yes. Well, so the timing seems to be about right, and it sounds to me like you're saying, and especially from some of the remarks you made, that these changes and what you're seeing come through, and the weakness that could happen to the economy, and the opening for a new system to come in, that's favorable for cryptos and also favorable for Meta One.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. So, yeah. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to share. I just want to say, folks, take the time, prepare yourself. You may want to go out and get some face masks, because it could come to the point that you aren't going to be able to go anywhere or be out and about in the public without a face mask. And I would also say you've got probably, a couple weeks, but just be prepared for the fact that there is a probability we might have a food shortage. And so make sure that you have about 3 to 4 weeks of food in stock on hand, because it could take that long. It's a delayed reaction when that begins to happen. So just be prepared for that, and I would highly recommend you do that. But it's not urgent that you go out today. Watch your stores is what I should say. I did go into my store, like this morning, and there's no sign of anything there yet. Well, it's because, they have their stock, they have their stuff in the warehouses, and they still have the stuff coming in now. So it could still be a 2 to 3 week delay before we start seeing the impact of that when it starts to slow down. And so that's why we're not hearing anything out of the mainstream media. Because if the mainstream media starts saying expect a food shortage, boom, people are running to the stores and taking everything now. See, so when they don't even know yet if it's going to happen. It's just one of those things to be prepared for. because that's one of the most unlikely situations. We don't want to be there. It's not nice to be there when there's a food shortage and you can't get any food. So, okay. Well, let's do this for folks. If you would like to call in and ask any questions, or if you have any comments that you would like to make, again, the call-in number on Blog Talk Radio, that's 515-605-9356. Again, 515-605-9356. And then you just press 1 on your touch-tone phone, and that means that, yes, you would like to come on and either have some questions or like to make some comments. So, okay. And anything else for then, Blanca?
No, I think we're good. I mean, it couldn't hurt if a big food shortage happens. Well, then you're prepared, and you've got some extras in your pantry for yourself or for your neighbors. And if we don't go through a big shortage, well, then you just have a big picnic and party.
That's right. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and just head on over then to the call in the radio programs. There was a person that early on had touched their touch tone phone, and it's from area code 650. I'm just going to go right over to you. Okay, it's area code 650. You did press, your 1 on a ways back. Did you have some questions or comments you'd like to make?
Hello, Dave.
Yes.
Just wanted to follow up a little bit because first of all, I think very good advice. People need to think about the fact that we're a very interdependent system, and that actually we've been lulled into a little bit of false security that this cannot be interrupted. And many of the things you said point to where that is. The shipping one is very important. I wanted to come back a little bit to some of what you said a little bit about the currencies and what's going on there. A few weeks back, you'd spoken of the fact that there were 3 groups that had to be finished before anything could progress down the chain, and that 2 of them had basically been done, and the 3rd one is in process. Do you have any updates on that?
Yes, the update I did receive about 5 days ago said that 3rd one was finished as well. So they were ready to start moving, but the coronavirus, basically stopped, the buyers from being able to finish their contracts. Now, just because they are at the front, what I would call the tier 1 or at the front end, it doesn't mean it's going to come to us right away. There could still be a 1 or 2 month delay before those funds are released, before they're available at my level. So I don't want people to start assuming that, hey, okay, it's moving, I'm going to have it. No, that doesn't mean that. But it does. The positive thing is that they're ready to go. So, yeah.
Which is good. And that's what I was hoping you'd share. You also had mentioned that when you, in your group, not the public, but your group, would have potentially be moving forward, you were likely to have to travel out of the country, potentially to Hong Kong to do that. Do you still foresee that being necessary?
I do.
Given everything going on?
We see the funds for where the contracts that I have are coming out of Hong Kong. And the person who is my broker has to go to Hong Kong and set up a Paymaster account at HSBC Bank in Hong Kong. And then I will probably follow along right with him and set up an account myself there, so that all he has to do is make an inter-branch transfer of the money, so you aren't transferring, huge, large sums of money from one bank to another, because that's where the banks will step in and shut your accounts down. So I will go there and set up an account with it as well, so it's just a very simple inter-branch transfer of funds, and then the funds will be available for me to start doing what I can. So, and I'll tell folks, when I'm doing that. What I will probably do is tell you after I'm done, not before. So, okay. But to let you know, I just finished, setting up the accounts in Hong Kong. We may end up moving the accounts from Hong Kong to Singapore, because of some of the problems that have been going politically that's been going on in Hong Kong. So there is a possibility we might do that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah.
Thank you for the update on that. One final question.
Sure.
After recent seminars that, as before, you've had other people who bring forward structured water, water that obviously is able to be more advantageous to the body.
Yes.
Is processed. You yourself pointed out that you use this and have this. Has there been any conversation with the people who are doing that regarding the impact on immunity related to potentially what we're coming up against?
Now, run that by me again. Is there any impact on those folks on what?
On immunity for potentially the virus we're dealing with or other.
No, nothing. I'm not hearing anything whatsoever about structured rottenness related to the virus. Nothing whatsoever. I don't know how it would. I don't even know how it would. So, yeah.
I didn't either, but I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
All right, Dave.
Okay.
Very good talking to you.
All right. Okay. Thanks. You bet. Okay. So then we're going on to the next caller from area code 954, and it's Hosey. Hosey, you're on the air, and what can I help you with here tonight?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I am. You're here. You're on the air, and we can hear you fine.
Okay, great. I wanted to find out. You were talking about the different levels of the RD, the first and second level. I don't know what level I am, but we collected the money last May. And is that a part of what we're talking about now?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
Have you already turned in currency? That's the question.
I did.
Then you're a part of what is called round one.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, and you're going to let me know if there's anything else I have to do, right?
I will. Yes, when that time comes. Yep. So, you'll.
Okay. When are you going to do Fort Lauderdale?
What's that?
When are you going to do Fort Lauderdale?
This fall. I'll be doing Fort Lauderdale this fall.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Bye bye. Okay. So I'm going to the next caller. It's Carla from area code 757. You're coming up. Let's see, Carla. You're on the air. What can we help you with here tonight?
Hello, Dave. I had a question about Meta One. I actually emailed them to you earlier. I don't know if you saw them. But my question is in regard to the newest information that they gave us about having to authenticate the birth certificate. And I was wondering, is that just due to the secured party creditor status? And do we have to do, is that a requirement? Because it's brought a little confusion to some people in our about 15 people to get coins.
Yes, it has. And now, I don't have an exact answer on that yet. I'll have that for the program next week. You're getting your birth certificate authenticated is a part of the secured party creditor process. It's necessary for that. I don't know if that is necessary for people to come in and purchase Meta One coins. I don't think it is, but it is highly, highly advisable. Folks, and here's why I want to say that. Remember, this whole cryptocurrency process is a huge threat to the banking industry. And we may see some severe backlash against Meta One and other very strong cryptocurrencies that are asset-backed from the banking industry. And by having the secured party creditor status, that protects you from their backlash. I have already seen multiple accounts from people that are saying that once the banks are finding out that they're involved in the cryptocurrency process, they're shutting their accounts down. So you could end up purchasing, Meta One coin and end up having a couple $1 million in your bank account from Meta One, and boom, they'll shut your account down and take your money. As a secured party creditor status, that protects you. And that's why Robert has set this up. It's highly advisable. And I don't know yet if that is something that's mandatory and required. But folks, we are just starting to get into this shift and change of what is called the global economy, and that's why Robert has set up what is called the trust process and the secured party creditor process for all of us as well. So. Yeah.
Okay, but I was thinking that because we have the Meta One bank accounts, we wouldn't have to worry about our bank accounts being shut down.
Well, but yes, that's possibly the case. That you wouldn't have to worry about it with Meta One, but that doesn't mean that there isn't other areas that could happen. I don't know all those details, and so I can't answer all those questions authoritatively, so I don't know that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll continue to call Meta One. I haven't been able to get through to anybody yet.
They're swamped. They are absolutely swamped. Just keep calling. They are absolutely swamped. So, okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to the next caller. Let's see. It's area code 203. With Peter is his name. It's coming up. Peter, you're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Yes. On the Freedom Club USA calls, he says we're part of the internet group, and they got U.S. approved, U.S. Treasury approved 800 numbers that will be released to us that we would call to get our own possible 800 number to call for a currency exchange. Okay, so I just wondered if that seems to make any sense.
You made a comment there that it's U.S. Treasury approved. Peter, I have never, ever, ever seen that anywhere. That the 800 numbers are U.S. Treasury approved. Never.
That could be made up, in other words.
I think it's made up. Remember, I, for 5 years, have been saying the 800 numbers is a false system. Never, not once in 5 years, have any of those people ever going to be able to say where they're getting the trillions of dollars to pay for that. At some point,
They did say China.
They don't have it. China is not paying for an 800 number system. I can flat out tell you that. They may say that, but they don't know who their buyers are. They're clueless. They are clueless to who their buyers are. They make this stuff up and say, well, it's China. No, it's not. I know the Dragon family members who are putting out the money, and they aren't paying a dime on the 800 numbers. Not a dime.
Well, that's why I asked.
Yeah. And secondly, U.S. Treasury would never release scores of trillions of dollars to be put out into the economy. The 800 number is a false setup entrapment system. Okay? Flat out. I've been saying that for 5 years.
Wow.
I've been saying that for 5 years, Peter.
Well, that's what I believe. I believe you're correct. I can't argue with these people. They're very stubborn, and they think they know it all, and they got credible contacts with they claim from the White House or Washington D.C. I don't know who their real contacts are, but it just doesn't sound credible to me. The other question was about Adam Montana Group. If somebody's a member of his, does that mean that they will automatically be able to exchange a currency when?
Who's their buyer?
Suppose.
Who's got the money that's paying?
I don't know if that's a legitimate group, because I have a friend that owns lots of currency. He's got some money, thousands of dollars invested, and I don't know. He says he believes that he'll be able to change his currencies once it's an RV, but to Adam Montana, because he's a member of his.
Okay, first of all, there is never going to be a public RV, because it would take scores of trillions of dollars to do it, and U.S. Treasury will not allow that to happen. I've been saying that for 4 or 5 years. It's a private currency exchange, and that's what I am involved in. And I am aware of 3 different buyers and brokers that are authorized by the U.S. Treasury to pay out, and they are the only ones. If your buyer or broker or Adam Montana or whoever, if he doesn't have an approved contract with the U.S. Treasury, he is never getting paid. Never.
Is there any way of finding out? He's a dentist, he's a doctor or whatever. If he contacts Adam Montana, you'd think he could trust his answer about whether he could exchange currencies.
That's your business, not mine. I don't trust him. I don't trust anything that's come out of him. He has never been able to verify who's paying, who is his buyer, who is his broker, and where are they getting their money. He's never been able to verify that.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate all your comments.
And I know I'm sounding very demonstrative on this, and I'm just saying, man, I've been saying this for 5 years. Hello, and it's common sense. See, these
Yes.
people that are talking about the 800 numbers, they've been reporting this stuff now for 4 and 5 years. They keep saying it's happening tomorrow or next week. It never happens
Yeah,
as they say it
exactly.
is. Okay, it never. They've been saying it's next week for 5 years now, and they're
It
saying.
is. I've been hearing it for long years. Yes.
And I know, and they're saying our sources. Well, I can tell you right now, myself and others, we've tried to really do our homework. Is their sources are cabal-planted people to keep them focused over there, so they will never come to find the real stuff. Their sources are cabal liars, in essence, is what it is. But they don't want to believe that because they don't want to believe that what they've been talking about for 5 years isn't going to happen. They're living in a fantasy land to think that there's $40 to $50 trillion out there that's going to pay these 100,000 people that got 800 numbers, and that it's
a
just.
crime that they got so many members listening to that crap.
I know. You see, and I can tell you right now, U.S. Treasury and the IMF will never allow that kind of money to be released because it would just blow up the global economy. To have that kind of money
Common
released.
sense, yes.
You see, it's common sense.
Yeah.
Common sense. You have
agree. I
you
agree.
have to have a contract that has been approved by U.S. Treasury, or you aren't getting a dime. That's the bottom line. So I've been pretty kind of firm on that tonight, but I can just say there's thousands and thousands of people that think they're going to get paid and they aren't. 'Cause they didn't do their homework to find the reliability of what it is that that they're being told. And there is a common sense in this
Crazy.
process. So yeah, okay. All right. Anything
Thank
else,
you very
Peter?
much.
Anything else?
I can't think of anything at the moment. I'm sure I could think of something later, but thank you. I'll call some other time.
Okay. Alrighty. Thanks. Okay. Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We had another person just call in right away. Area code 214. I'm going to go right to you. Let's see. You're coming up. Area code 214. You're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Hi, yes, Deb. Would you run by the date that we can purchase the Meta one at 44.44 again?
You have
I
up.
happened to
You
step
have
away.
until March 6th.
March 6th.
Yep. After that, it goes
Okay.
up.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay, let's see. Well, Blanca, that was all the people that had signed up to call in tonight. I don't see anybody else
Yes.
from you.
No, I don't. You got the last one that came in. And again, it's a good question that people have until March 6th to purchase it at the $44.44. That's already double the price from when they first started.
Yes, it is.
Right? Because
Yeah.
it was at $22.22. It doubled in price. And I don't know the number off the top of my head, but there's a number that you gave in your newsletter that people can call and leave a message that they're ordering whatever number of Meta One coin, and tell them when they're going to send the check or how they're going to pay for it. And at least they'll get, their order logged, and then when the money
Yes.
comes in, then they get their order.
All you have to do is go to the Meta One website. Here's the website: Meta META 1 the number 1.io. Meta1.io is the website, and the number is there that you got to call in. Now, see, they're not yet set up for the automated ordering system. That will happen after it goes public. Right now, you got to call in, and you're going to have somebody answer. They've got about 5 different people, and they're bringing more people on staff to be able to handle the calls. And they're just swamped, folks. They're absolutely swamped. So keep calling. If you can't get through, just keep calling. That's all I can say. Don't send me your questions because I can't answer your questions. Your questions got to go to staff. So, and don't ask me how you get through. You got to keep calling. That's all I can say. Okay. So, all right. Anything else on that, Blanca?
Well, if they leave a message and a callback number, they'll also. That's a good idea.
Yes.
But you're right. They're busy. A lot of people recognize that this is or believe it's a good opportunity. Again, we've always encouraged you to do your research. The website is very informative. The white paper is very informative. And then you can decide whether this looks like a good investment for you, given all the information that Dave's given you and Robert's given us. And then even if you decide not to, at least you did the research and you made a good informed decision. And then if you do decide to invest in it, then you made a good informed decision, and hopefully things will work the way they seem to be heading. Let's put it that way. It looks very good.
Question came in on Facebook. It says, are you saying the Meta one will be higher than the 8888 when the audit comes in? We don't know. Robert cannot disclose that other than the fact that he says that the audited amount will be placed on the website, and that will be in the thousands of dollars, and that's where it's going. Okay? So, yeah. What are the hours for calling Meta One? They don't have any established hours. Just call. You know, I don't know. They don't necessarily do a 9 to 5 hours. So, yeah. Says, if you pay for Meta One with other cryptos, is it already automated? I've ordered twice online, and this was without speaking to anyone. No, it's not automated yet. None of the ordering is automated yet. So you have to basically go through, and you can use other cryptos to purchase Meta One, but it's not, you have to call it in. So, okay. Well, I think then that's all that we got here tonight. Blanca, is there anything else you want to share with before we call it a night tonight?
No, I think that that will do it for tonight.
I do too. So, okay, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. And let's see, I did hit the jingle and it didn't come on. The jingle doesn't want to come on. How come? That's funny. Come on, your jingle's supposed to come on. It doesn't want to come on. There we are. Okay. Okay, folks, this was the February 26th program, and we'll see you next week on here on this, the Cosmic Connections. Thanks a lot. Okay, bye-bye.